And also, we're moving my other group Hangout, Google Hangout, to Mondays, so I won't be late.
Okay.
Hey, we can move this. Hey, thanks. Just because it was crazy. Really? Dude, his roommate's going through some awful stuff right now.
What? We're live, by the way.
Going through awful stuff right now. I know. I'll tell you about it later. Anyways, sorry.
We're recording, by the way.
Huh? Oh, we are? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Hi.
Okay. Will someone offer a prayer?
Yeah, I'll say it. Okay. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so very grateful for this day. We're grateful that we were all able to meet on Google Hangout, and we're grateful for BYU Idaho and all of the amazing opportunities it gives us, and the opportunity to take classes online and grow our education. Please bless us with the Spirit as we go throughout this class, so we'll be able to learn and be better businessmen and women. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. So what do we think about what was it, Simon York?
Yeah, he was kind of awful.
Yeah.
Have him as a boss. Oh my goodness.
Not only as a boss, but he was going to people not who he was over and started yelling at people.
Mm-hmm.
So did that link work?
I got it to work. I don't know what happened.
So Joan, did you see that other link that I sent you just barely?
I got one at 10:04.
Well, I sent one just a few seconds. Anyways, doesn't matter. You're here. So yeah, Simon York. He's kind of a mean person.
I think with him like going to the other group or like the other manager's employees and yelling at them is totally not okay, because it like undermines the other manager's authority and I guess his job to be yelling at his employees.
I think you could also see the pride that he had. That, you know, at the end when it talked about how Mary like had her assistant go and let him know that like she wanted to meet with him, he assumed like it was going to be like a praising kind of meeting, that you know, she was going to be like, you're doing such a great job, and he, you know, thought back on all the great work that he'd done, and he wasn't self-aware about, you know, the struggle and pain that he's causing his employees and the other employees around him.
Well, and leading on to that,
yeah, he is.
Not only was he saying, oh, well, how great I am, but how great that I found all these errors going out throughout the whole company that she wants to talk to me about and ask me how to fix them.
Yeah.
Like it's his job when it's not.
Yeah,
he needs to be
there
more.
There were a couple issues with this for me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So there were a couple issues. First of all, I mean, it was inappropriate. It didn't really say, but I got the impression that they were that he was like coming down the hallway and just kind of had this big conversation with her right in the hallway. Didn't really kind of do it privately. It didn't really say that, but it's just the way she said she could see him coming. I don't know, you know, if that's the case. Certainly, aside and had this conversation in a private office as opposed to having it in the hallway, right? You know, and then this, you know, the other thing is, yeah, she kind of witnessed this behavior and didn't give any feedback back when it first happened to say, you know, you didn't really act appropriately in the meeting. And certainly his team members, as the listen, you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm a director of human resources, right? So as a director of HR, if you're in a meeting and you see like everybody else in the team become disengaged when somebody starts talking, you need to pull them aside and say, hey, kind of what's going on, especially if you saw behavior. So I thought it was funny that this case study was what, like 2 pages, you know what I mean? And the one from last week was like 12. I just felt like, you know, it was really, I mean, it certainly kind of got to the point a little bit better, but there were several several issues with this one that I saw, and the self-awareness to me was the biggest one, because he thought he was, oh, this is great, she's going to talk to me about what a great job I'm doing, and really has no idea how inappropriate he's being.
I think. Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I was also thinking with like when Mary Griffin saw in the past meeting, that he basically humiliated his employees
Right.
in front of everyone. And I think that's completely inappropriate because it can ruin a reputation.
Mhm.
And especially when you're humiliated in front of your peers or
Right.
coworkers and people who have the power to give you a promotion or a letter of recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think.
I felt that was sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I felt that was so inappropriate with all the higher up directors, with all that. It was a simple mistake, and it doesn't say whether or not that could have made or broken the deal.
Yeah, it was a human error.
Yeah.
It was a human error, but to sit there and say that would have been a career limiting move, and I would have fired you for that. Whoa, 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 whoa! That is between you and him, privately, not with everybody here to make a fool out of him.
I think another.
Yeah, to basically throw in a job.
Yeah. I think another problem that I had was actually on Mary's part. I think one thing that was frustrating was that an employee had to go and tell her that one of her employees was, wreaking havoc around the office, that she wasn't already aware of it. And then like once he, addressed it, I think his name was like John or something like that at the very beginning of the case. She was like, I never would have guessed, he did so great and that's why we promoted him and all this stuff. And I think that she wasn't aware of the problem. And, if this person wouldn't have stepped up and, made her aware of it, would she have been aware of it? Obviously there is some problems just outside of that are going on,
Well, it sounded like it just happened, though. I mean, it was immediately kind of like a reaction. So maybe she didn't. But part of the problem, and this is what I put in my write-up, is, sometimes your best employees don't necessarily, they have the skill set to manage other people, right? Or to be promoted. So there should be more of a kind of a succession planning or a management training program. So you give those, what they call soft skills, to people prior to them becoming managers, as opposed to putting them in charge of other people. It's a flaw. That's what, we'll take care of it kind of after the fact. Let's try and identify, because it sounds like he had some good ideas, and that's why they thought to promote him. They kind of took an older guy and kind of made him see more innovative and creative ways to do things, as opposed to the way he was doing it for 40 years, which is great. That's what you want. You want some new talent and things like that. But they should have kind of done a little bit more work up front to polish those soft skills before they put him in charge of other people. So he would know how to act, in his defense. I mean, if that's the way you immediately react and somebody makes a mistake, it is, but it doesn't matter. It's still a mistake, right? But if that's your immediate reaction to threaten their job and call them out in front of them and embarrass them in front of their peers, you need some help with your people skills.
Yeah, that's not leadership. It's more dictatorship,
And I think that was an error for whoever promoted him, because he can go out and make some design and that's so cool and that's going to work out so great. But okay, how is he working with people? How is he working with those that he's over? People treat peers and superiors different than they treat their inferiors in this manner. I mean, there's a saying that you don't judge a man by how he treats his peers, but it's how he treats his inferiors. And so what they needed to do is they needed to go and talk to those that work with him personally day to day, who know him the best, those that even if he was like a shift lead, ask them, okay, how is he? What is he doing? How is everything? And then that will give you a more accurate response of what kind of a leader is this guy going to be.
Yeah, well, and that kind of goes with that kind of that pre-training before they actually get the job, management training.
Mhm.
And I think going back to with what you, Joan, you said about how Mary should have said something to him right after that meeting. I agree, because if
Absolutely.
even if it was just a one-time thing, like she was thinking, it still should be something that they talk about, because something like that is not okay. He needs to know what is and isn't okay, whether it's one time or not.
Well, and he would have been aware then of his reaction.
Yeah. And I feel like there's also kind of like a lack of respect, you know, like obviously he doesn't respect the people that he's working with enough to treat them, you know, in a way that he should. And I feel like when you're, you know, wherever you work, you're having to work as a team. You're never working individually. And a lack of respect causes a team not to be able to work effectively and efficiently. And that's all business is, right? You're trying to work efficiently and effectively to get whatever you need to get done. And so I feel like that is also a problem that they have.
So
Yep.
Hey, Lee.
I'm jumping in.
Hey, Lee.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
please
tried it the other way. I didn't know where we. Okay, so my input on this, coming in halfway, yes, they should. Everything should have stopped. Should have had everybody that was involved in there and been talking to both of them. He had to understand that the director was in charge of that floor, and that he wasn't supposed to come down and change anything. He was supposed to go to the director, and then things would happen in the proper manner. I mean, everybody has up in such a manner that a manager does not dump a director. They need to work together, and then to have had all the fights that he seemed to have, it just, she needed to step in immediately, not wait.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, and that was another thing that I saw with the production of the product, of the symbol, of that whole thing. Okay, why was it not okay? Let's print out 100 of them. Let's give it a trial run. Let's go to the designers of the let's go to the designers of this. Okay, is this what you were thinking? Is this what's going on? Let's get this approved before we start out mass producing things. So I think that was an error on the production manager there.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, York should never have gone down there, but you should not go out and just start mass producing things without the absolute, okay, this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, because I agree with York on that one, because it's for the X Games. That's what they're promoting. That has to stand out the most. And if he doesn't think it's standing out, something needs to be changed, because he was the lead design on this.
Okay, so he was there, but the real problem is usually they run a test through. Maybe he didn't take the time to be down there to see it when the first test was run.
Which is true, which we don't know whether or not that's.
Thing.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, we only have a the one small piece of the story, so it's interesting.
Which I love case studies that are like this, because they're small and we can kind of like fill in what little gaps we think, and it just makes us for a better discussion.
Make up what we want as we go along.
I think one thing I also picked up on was I felt like there was also kind of a lack of professionalism. You know, like at the beginning when that guy from the production floor, you know, went and addressed Mary, I felt like there was a lot of anger involved in it, and it was very like heat of the moment. And it, like when I was reading it, I imagined it in my head like being very loud, and you know, you could hear the anger that he had. And I can understand when you're frustrated and you want to address something, but I also think there's a time and a place, you know, for that kind of stuff. And in the workplace, that's not the time nor the place. And when you are having a problem with someone, I feel like you have to sit down with the director and be like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Explain your reasons why you're having these problems. And, you know, like, I can personally say that, like, I've had both experiences where, like, I have, you know, sat down with my manager and been like, hey, I have this problem with this person. And I've also been on the other side where I've been so fuming, where I just, you know, yell and I'm upset. And I can say personally that when I've, you know, sat down and been calm and professional about something, a lot more gets done when, instead of when you're in the heat of the moment and you're angry and you're yelling. Nothing gets done when that happens. And so I feel like that could have contributed to it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I almost feel like if you read it, it happened a little bit ago, because the person was just sitting there thinking about it and just getting more and more and more angry about it.
Yeah.
And so whether you
That's-
need to wait longer or whether you need to tell them right at that moment, saying, hey, this is what happened, before you sit there, before you think too much about it
Yeah.
and get all so mad you won't just want to strangle them.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's another thing that we need to take into consideration. When he went down, he stopped production. Okay, so I don't know if they had a line of 50 people, 100 people, or whatever, but all that money just all of a sudden went out the window.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't even think of that.
So if you're having that kind of interruption, you're going to have to jump as fast as you can, and you're going to have to go to the person that's in charge of that other person, because apparently wouldn't listen to the director. So it's a communication problem completely. Okay, the if they follow the proper protocol, you go to the person in charge and you tell them this is a problem. The person in charge stops the line and they take care of it. Don't go in and stop the line if you're not in charge of the area. Like coming and interrupting surgery, I guess you might say, because you think something needs to change, okay, and you can't just come in and stop it because you're one of the people that could be a part of it, but you're out of the picture and change things right then and there. You need to go through the proper lines.
Yeah, you there's a chain of command in it, you know, for a reason, right? There's a chain of command, and you know, there's a person leading the production team, and that's the person you go to. Then there's a person who's other team, and that's who you go to. You can't just go in and wreak havoc in somebody else's department. But I think that just kind of, again, goes back to his just lack of skill set, maybe, to be that a manager, and needs to understand what that chain of command is and follow it.
Well, is there a written form of the chain of command of all these protocols that we're talking about? It doesn't say it in the
No, it doesn't.
case study at all. But I mean, at least in my job where I work for the sheriff's department. There's a certain way we do
There's a big chain of command.
There's a very big chain of command, and you do not break that chain of command. And it is written out. You are allowed to do this, nothing more, nothing less. Does this company have that? Because if this company doesn't have that, they need to get a chain of command out there, a protocol written down so everybody knows what their job is.
Well, I mean, if you read The Speed of Trust, the book, by Stephen Covey, and they're talking about policies and things like that. There's a whole, there's some companies that have, like yours, Jordan, that has everything. There's some companies that say, treat everybody like you want to be treated, and boom, that's their whole policy manual, right? So,
well, that goes into it. If the person treated somebody like he'd like to be treated.
Yeah, nobody wants to be treated that way, I'm sure. So yeah, keep that in mind. So I mean, it was interesting. Like I said, I thought, it was such a short case study to read, but it was very impactful of, like, the several things that were kind of wrong there. Was there a policy manual? Was there management training? Why wasn't he spoken to originally, you know, when he had the first incident in front of people? You know, why wasn't John, who came down the hallway, you know, or, you know, kind of why wasn't he spoken to about that's not appropriate either, to just kind of barge in and, you know, start complaining about another employee. So there was, you know, there was a whole snowball effect there.
Mhm.
Well, then it feels when he does. Sorry, when he goes and just barges in, his time, what he has to say, is far more important than anything you're doing right at this moment.
Mhm.
My job aspect, okay, in my life, if I have something that is stopping things, the person in charge wants me to come barge in. They want to see that brow that's going, because they want to know how important it is. Okay, and to me, what she was saying is, I saw him coming, and I knew something was really wrong. I needed to know that what was going on. Okay, so to me, I saw what she was saying there was, hey, I know something's wrong. He wouldn't come up to me like this if there wasn't something just very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
stopping
way it
the
was
production.
written, though, yeah, the way it was written, though, she was like, she was dreading. She saw him coming and she was dreading. So is this a guy whose hair is always on fire?
Mm-hmm.
No,
There's a big
I think
crisis.
so.
Well, it almost
So
looked like she was trying
Like,
to
oh my
avoid
God,
him.
here he comes again. And now,
Yeah.
you know, when you're Chicken Little and you're always complaining to Chicken Little, and now everybody doesn't want to see you. And this was truly an issue, right? This one was an issue. Okay, well, this one, but the one you were here yesterday for wasn't, and the one you were here last week wasn't. So, you know, that's why she did the eye roll when he was coming down the hallway.
Well, I can tell you from their point of view, sometimes the people that are coming in like that, they know that number one, there's a big problem. It's going to cost money. And dang it, you dread having to pay the extra money that you don't want those problems. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I see both sides.
Yeah, no, I get it too, Lee.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't on when I was first on. I am a director of human resources, so I get this case probably 4 or 5 times a day. I see this myself, so I get it. You know, so you have to look at both sides of it. But you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I've done a few eye rolls myself when somebody says, "Hey, you got a minute?" You're like, sure, come on in."
Well, I was going to say that's the same thing to the administrator. That's the same thing that he does when I walk in. He does roll his eyes and sigh, okay, what do you got now? Okay, but the only time you go to him is when there's really a problem. Okay,
Right.
and that's
So,
because they don't want
well, and that's just having trust in your management team.
Mhm.
So, a lot of good discussion today.
I've loved it.
I think kind of looking from the other side of it is with the guy who retired before, who was over York, maybe York kind of goes back to the self-awareness. He doesn't realize that he's creating all these issues when really he's just, to himself, he might just be trying to fill these shoes and be the best that he can.
Mhm.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Sometimes, you know, self-awareness is not a good thing. You know, everybody should have it. Certainly, it's probably the best. You know, they say it's the number one skill a manager should have is self-awareness. But if nobody says anything to you, you're not going to know it. So, and then maybe then you become self-aware and you say, well, I shouldn't have reacted that way, or I should have done it this way. So, you know, certainly in his defense, since you know, as an HR person, if you see somebody who acts that inappropriate in a meeting and don't say anything because you're like, yeah, maybe it's just a one-time thing, you want to make sure it's a one-time thing.
Mhm.
And the only way you're going to do that is if you bring it to his attention and let him know that that's not appropriate behavior. You know, and again, then I'm a big proponent of management training, as you know, since I've said it like 4 times already. So,
It's important. You can be a good employee, but I think you can, that
doesn't
doesn't
make you a
necessarily
good
mean you're gonna
manager.
be a good manager.
No,
Yeah.
no, it does not.
Yeah.
No, it does not. I
No,
mean,
it does not.
we have patrol officers, and they are fantastic patrol officers. I mean, they will jump in the line of fire. They are great. You make them sergeants, and they're done. It doesn't mean they're bad police officers. They just should never have been made a sergeant.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes it's easy to get power hungry and, feel the management power that you have over these people. And I feel like that's what happened with York. He felt this power, this new power that he had, that he felt like, I changed my department and made it better. I can change the whole entire company. And, that's not his place to do it.
Well, being devil's advocate on that one, we were going back because he worked for the guy he replaced. He worked for him. Okay, that's intimidating because I think in his mind this guy was just some amazing person, and he's scared and he's trying to like it could even be that he didn't even do it intentionally. He was just trying to do the best. He was trying to do the best that he could do, trying to do what he thinks his old manager would do. So that's just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, not as secure as maybe you think from reading it. This guy's kind of a jerk because he's over everybody. But in reality, it could just be that he's not as secure as he wants to be. So he's trying to overcompensate by, sometimes being that big loud voice to make it happen.
Yeah, totally.
Good intentions. It doesn't seem like he had bad intentions, because even when he was being mean in the meeting, he was doing it with the, oh my gosh, what if we had a client, that would have been awful, so he really has the company's best interest at heart.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
he just goes about it the wrong way.
I will say the one thing that I noticed is that he did not take responsibility. Okay, when you're the manager or the director, underneath you is your responsibility. Okay, and I know that horrible things happen, and whichever that you don't want to happen, but ultimately when you give a finished product, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing because he just blames and blames and blames. None of it is ever his fault.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're a manager, what your team puts out is what you put out. And so it has your brand on it, especially, when you're like, I'm thinking in like accounting terms, when you're a manager, like you have all these people do the work for you, and then like you like are in charge of like checking every little thing that they did, putting your name on it and turning it into the CFO or whatever company you're working with, like they aren't going to be like, oh, so-and-so, the intern did this statement wrong. No, it's going to have the manager's name on it. And so you can't, go in and say, oh, like it was so-and-so's fault. Like, no, like you put your name on it, you checked it, it's, your fault too.
Yeah, so he should have checked it.
So he should have previewed it, yes.
Yeah.
And he should have knew that what was going to be there, that was his responsibility. And that was one of the many things I saw that I went, oh, now wait a second, that's not right. You cannot blame. You can publicly you have to take responsibility.
Well, and that just
To
ties
go
into
teach.
ties into the reading, right? Ties into the book, the Speed of Trust book.
Yes, it does. That's
So,
that's the one thing I just noticed in here.
I'm sure these case studies are going to be like, oh, hey, that's core principle 4. Wait, that's behavior 13.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see a lot of that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm sorry that I didn't show up on time. I was trying to start something because I wasn't sure what was happening, and I tried the other places, and so I had started one and sent you guys emails. So whichever.
Yeah, you're totally fine.
We'll forgive you this time.
Well, I feel like we had a really good discussion tonight.
I loved it.
Yeah, it went really well.
Lee, you want to be the leader next week then, and send everybody the link? And that's what you need to do. Like if
Sure.
you start it and then
Yes.
copy the
Mhm.
link, email it to everybody. You have everybody's email address, and then we'll get on this way. You want to be the leader next week then? And
That's no problem. I had prepared just in case, and then I couldn't get anybody. So I'm glad you sent me the things in. You guys were there because I wasn't finding it.
Sorry, I tried
Okay.
to tell everyone earlier this morning that I am taking charge. I'll do. I would definitely do that this week. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in the
so you're-
Dominican this morning, so you know, email was a little shoddy there.
All right. So next week,
gonna
Lee's the leader, and it's at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
There's this group leader thing
Okay.
that we're supposed to fill out this week.
We have to fill out a group.
That's what
leader.
I was just telling you. We need to fill that out. So we need to know who's going to do which lessons. Sure.
Okay.
So I do number 4.
Okay, let me
Okay. Should we like put it on like a Google Doc and then we each like fill out
Please. Yeah.
like which one we
Yeah,
want
let's do
to?
that.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
No. So what? Can I ask you just a quick question?
Yeah.
What else am I supposed to do as the group leader today?
You need to go
You were
on.
supposed to.
Yeah, you go on to the case study activity and you post this because that's what I did last week. You post the link.
Okay.
So like when you stop this recording,
Right.
and it'll give you the link for it, then you
That
just post that on that group one so that
Okay.
so she can get it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, I'm gonna post it there, and I'm gonna send it to everyone through the email, just in
Yeah.
case.
Okay. Sounds
in
good.
case.
Yep, makes sense.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay. So who's going to put the group thing up?
Jordan
Do you want me to?
for
Jordan
today.
will? Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll do
Okay,
next
and I'll.
No.
Okay.
week, right?
I'll leave.
No. This.
Are you,
This.
Yeah.
are you the sign up sheet?
The sign up. sheet,
Oh,
yeah.
the sign up sheet. Yeah, who could do that?
I can copy it and put it on Google Docs really
Okay.
quick.
That's
That'd
perfect.
be
Share with all of you.
fantastic, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's try and get everything filled up by what? Saturday? Would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes in by Saturday. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely by Saturday.
So
Okay.
I'll send all of you a
Then
link
do
to
you-
this.
Yeah, you'll give us access then to the Google Doc and we'll do it
Yes.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, and we're
I
supposed
think
to
that's the
submit it.
smartest way.
We're supposed to submit it to the teacher. So who wants to do that?
Well, it would be him or Jordan that does that. Yeah, that's part of his job this week.
Okay.
I can do that.
All right.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna put that in the calendar so I don't forget. That's
Thanks.
embarrassing.
Perfect.
It's one of it when you're going down the thing. It's actually one of the things on it. So
Right.
I'll pull it up and do it. That's why I said I had prepared to do the thing. I'd pull the case study up and it's
Oh,
one
wow,
of the,
you-
Awesome.
one of the things that was there. So I was trying to be ready, but it took me forever to figure out where you guys were.
Yeah. That's
And-
totally
And
fine.
I had also sent you a link to another thing, so you guys can avoid it.
Okay.
And I'll send a new link.
Okay. Well, I've got to get going. I've got other
Thank
stuff to do,
I
but-
think pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Awesome.
Sure.
All right. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay. See ya.
Okay.
Have
Bye.
a good week.
Okay, bye.